A very warm welcome to today's final assembly of this remarkable school year and the prize ceremony for this year's Headmaster's Prizes for Achievement and the High School Award for widespread involvement in a range of co-curricular activities. Charles Dickens wrote in A Tale of Two Cities, "It was the best of times, it was the worst of times. It was the age of wisdom, it was the age of foolishness. It was the epoch of belief, it was the epoch of incredulity. It was the season of light, it was the season of darkness. It was the spring of hope, it was the winter of despair." And I'm sure we've all felt many of those feelings over the last few months. This has certainly been a school term like no other in our 507-year history as a school. In terms of it being the worst of times, we only need to look at the grim daily death toll to understand the impact that it has had on our society. And my thoughts are very much with any of you watching this who've lost loved ones during this pandemic. Today, though, I want to focus on the impact on our school and our school community. My first reflection is that this period in our lives has shown us the importance of appreciating those around us. Many of you will not have been able to see your grandparents or family members for a long period, and whilst at times in the past such visits might have been something that you have interrupted your time at a weekend, I'm certain that now you will appreciate those family bonds even more. Similarly with those we live with, spending so much more time together has given us all a chance to know those closest to us even better, and to appreciate the way that we've helped each other to get through this period. I'm sure that we are now all more patient and tolerant as a result. Appreciation has also been seen in the way that we've applauded all the NHS staff and key workers, and this too has brought communities together. I am very aware of how many of the parents in our school community are these key workers, and we're all grateful to you, especially those of you who I know are on the front line in the NHS dealing with the crisis, for all you have done. Appreciation, though, is also due to all of the staff here at the high school. It's been brilliant to be able to share with them all the wonderfully kind emails that I've received praising the work that the staff have done since lockdown started. I think every one of our students now realises just how important their teachers are to them. The contact that they've had with you all, I know, has made this period much easier to get through, and the work involved in delivering our full curriculum remotely has been immense, as well as supporting you through the online tutor sets. And I would like to take this opportunity to thank every single member of our staff very warmly for all that they've done in this period. Of course, the school has also remained open throughout this time. We've had a group of the children of key workers in every day since the pandemic started, including over the school holidays. And more recently, groups of Year 10 and Year 12 have been coming into school. It's been great to see you back. Some of our staff have been in school working throughout this period to keep the school clean and safe and ensuring that the IT systems have been running, as well as running the administration, catering and grounds of the school. Without you, we would not have been able to keep going, so thank you to all of our support staff. Every single member of staff has played their part. Those that have been furloughed, for example, have been important in enabling us to offer the fee discount for this term and ensuring that the school comes out of the pandemic in a healthy position to look forward. I'd also like to pay tribute to the members of my senior management team for all the planning that has gone into each stage of our response and is still going on in readiness for September. So a huge and heartfelt thank you to every single one of my colleagues on the staff. You have been truly heroic in the efforts you have made to make this term work so successfully. Your love and care for those you teach has been inspiring. Your willingness to go the extra mile has been fantastic. You've all worked so incredibly hard alongside caring for and supporting your own families. I also want to thank the partners and children of our staff who have facilitated the staff to put so much effort into this term. And I really do hope that all of the staff enjoy a really good rest over the summer away from Google Meets. Thank you. I also want to pay tribute to all of you, our students. We've shown this term that school is not just a set of buildings, but a real community. And the way you have reacted to the online learning programme has been amazing. You took to it from the start, and you've been remarkable in your resilience to learn lots of new skills, just as your teachers have, but also in sticking at it all, despite having to spend so long in front of your computers. Many of you have also engaged with a lot of the co-curricular suggestions, and it's been brilliant to see the concerts we've had online in recent weeks and to hear about the various sporting challenges that you've undertaken. Some of you I know have also been really involved in your local communities and have raised substantial sums for charities, and this too has just been so impressive and so awe-inspiring. There is lots in the press about how children of your generation in many schools have lost months of learning. That is certainly not true here at the high school, where learning has continued throughout. And in addition to that, all of our skill sets have been enhanced over this period. I want to thank you all for your efforts this term. It really has been a season of light in the way that all of you have made the most of the position we have found ourselves in. Very much in my thoughts at this time have been those of you in years 11 and 13. You were on the verge of taking your exams upon which your futures rested, and this opportunity was snatched from you. We are so sorry that this was the case, especially for year 13, as your last term in school would have been so special in many ways. We will, as I said on your last morning in school, put on an event for you in the future as soon as we're allowed to, so that we can say goodbye properly. But for both these year groups, it was amazing to see how, despite what was thrown at you, you were able to fully engage with the programme of work and then the elective courses that we put on for you. And again, I'm grateful to the staff for all the additional work that was put into these. Of course, you will still get exam results, albeit that it seems so unfair that these will be moderated from what we have given you in line with factors such as the school's previous results in these subjects. We will, though, be here for you in August, either remotely or hopefully in person, to support your university applications and to advise you with respect to whether to sit exams in the autumn. Thankfully, our results in recent years have been amongst the best in the school's history, and this will help this time round. Before saying goodbye to a few staff who are leaving at the end of this term, I want to say a little about September. The government has made clear that schools will be returning in September, so we will be sending out full details of what to expect in late August to allow for any changes in the guidance and so that it reflects the situation in the country at any time. However, the school's senior management team has already started planning, and I'm able to tell you the following at this stage, with more to come at the end of the holidays. So all pupils will return into school in September in separate year group bubbles. Pupils will not be able to mix with pupils of other year groups, and so we're planning ways that you'll still be able to meet with your tutor, even though this will just have to be year group by year group, rather than with all of the tutor group together for the time being. The aim is to minimise the points of contact where infection might spread, but without reliance on previous social distancing measures. So year groups, or the bubbles as they'll be called, will be kept apart where possible, but with emphasis placed on strict hygiene and safety measures to minimise the risk of any infection spreading. Attendance will be compulsory and the online learning will stop. GCSE and A-level students will continue with all of their intended subjects. Further guidance is due from the exam boards as to any changes to the assessment or content, and we'll share that with you at the relevant time. Teachers will be able to move between groups with the emphasis on maintaining social distance where possible, coupled with effective hygiene and safety regimes. There's a recognition in the guidance that pupils will not always be able to socially distance within classrooms, although where possible desks will be forward-facing. It's possible to run the school bus services, but we're waiting again for further information on the rules that will apply here. Non-contact physical education and games can take place outside wherever possible if scrupulous attention is paid to hygiene. And in the event of any outbreak in the school, we will liaise with local health teams regarding the testing and whole school closure will not generally be necessary. But if there are cases in a particular year group, we might have to switch to remote learning for that year group if that is what the public health professionals require. And I want to say just a little bit more about the Games programme. This year, as you all know, is not a normal year. Due to the circumstances we currently face because of COVID-19, these have placed restrictions on facilities, and most sports as well, and we're currently looking at an alternative games programme from September until half-term and possibly beyond. In line with the decision taken for the whole school, we'll be following closely the national governing body's advice for each sport, and as a result we are likely to offer some traditional summer sports at the beginning of the autumn term, as these sports allow for greater social distancing. If this is the case, then our offering will include things like cricket, athletics, tennis and cross-country as alternatives to our standard hockey and rugby autumn term sports. We'll keep all these options under review and will respond appropriately, keeping all of you informed of our decisions. Those of you in the years 11, 12 and 13 are used to a wider range of sports options. Some of these will be restricted in September, as many of the facilities we normally use are unavailable. We'd ask that you bear with us for now and engage fully with the sports that we are able to put on, as clearly physical activity is a key part of our overall educational offering and has a positive effect on your mental well-being. We'll bring back as many additional options as we can within the guidelines. Students won't have to buy any additional specialist kit for the activities they'll take part in, but will be fine in this instance to use their usual school PE and games kit. We do not, unfortunately, at the current time, envisage being able to offer traditional inter-school fixtures in September, but we will introduce them as soon as we are permitted to do so by the guidance. Should rugby and hockey take a little longer to get back to inter-school competition, in preparation for an alternative one, we've been in touch with local schools to investigate competition in a range of other sports, including cricket, tennis, athletics and cross-country. However, if inter-school sport doesn't happen, we'll still be doing sport on Saturday mornings and afternoons as we would normally have done. What this will look like, we're currently unsure, but once we get further information from the sports governing bodies as to what is possible, we'll be sending out a full programme for you all. This will be year group based, whilst schools are being asked to work in year group bubbles. It is, however, our intention to return to hockey for girls and rugby for boys as soon as we're permitted, and let's hope that's soon. All of this information will be going out today in a newsletter to parents. It is traditional at the end of the summer term in our final assembly to pay tribute to those members of staff who are leaving. I want to start by wishing Mr. Thorpe well. As many of you will know, he left last summer, but kindly came back to teach in the DT department through the course of this year, and I'm very grateful to him for doing this. We also say farewell to Mrs. Cook in the music department, who has worked both in the senior and junior schools, and we wish her all the best in the future as she moves on to a different school. Next, we come to the teachers leaving the senior school this summer. Firstly, Mr. Allen. Mr. Allen joined us in September 2019 on a one-year contract as a teacher of physics. Having graduated with a degree in Maritime Defence and Technology, a degree in Science and Physics, and a Master's in Astrophysics, he previously taught at the British School of Kuwait, Bedford College and Valentine's High School. Since joining the school, Mr. Allen has been an assistant tutor to Mr. Pratton, where his skill and knowledge at the weekly tutor set crosswords and quiz impressed us all. I wish to thank him for all he's contributed and wish him every success in the future. Next, Miss Pete. Miss Pete also joined the school in September 2019 for 1 year to cover Mrs. Daly's maternity leave as a teacher of history. Since joining us, Miss Pete has coached the under-13 girls hockey and netball teams, been an assistant tutor in Maples House, run the Key Stage 3 History Film Club, and helped establish the Nottingham High School Gardening Club. Her most memorable moment is the Battlefields trip with Year 10 and Year 11 in October. Miss Pete has commented how much she'll miss the students here at the high school, as each and every single one of them has made an impression on her during her short time here. She leaves us to continue her teaching career in history with plans to move more into the pastoral side of teaching by helping troubled young people, and we thank her very much for all she's done. Mr. Davis. Mr. Davis joined the school in September 2017 as a teacher of music technology. He was previously a student here at the school before graduating from the University of Surrey with a degree in music and sound recording. Upon graduation, he took up work as a freelance recording and mixing engineer, including the recording of an album for the Cantamas Girls Choir, who were accompanied by Mr. Reed, the school's previous director of music. Since joining the school, he supervised the Music Tech Society and was part of the team that helped guide the design of the new Player Hall PA system. Let's hope we're all back in there soon. Mr. Davis is helping us to focus his attention solely towards audio engineering again, and in particular with the launch of his recording studio, Dig Studio, in Woolerton towards the end of this year, and we wish him every success in that venture. Next, Miss Harris. Miss Harris trained at the Moray House School of Education at the University of Edinburgh. Her teaching career spans 26 years, 4 of which were spent travelling and living in other countries, and included attending a game ranger course in South Africa, learning Spanish in Guatemala and Costa Rica, living with local families and going to language schools. She worked in a jungle lodge in Costa Rica as an assistant manager and taught at an international school in Mexico. She even bought 2 acres of Mexican jungle and had an off-grid house built on it. She lived there running a B&B. This life-changing experience made her hyper-aware of our relationship with the earth, and she became vegetarian and far more respectful of the planet, working on an organic farm in New Zealand. After all those adventures, she joined the high school as a teacher of English in September 2016. Since joining, she's been an assistant tutor to Mr. Adshead in White's House. She's loved this part of her job and will miss her tutor set enormously. She took over the running of the Bridge Cup, inspired by truly amazing and humbling performances she saw when judging the junior school poetry plate competition every year. She's been involved in trips to recycling centres, community gardens, food banks and children's homes where we delivered the Easter eggs to. She introduced the school to the Refugee Forum, where she volunteered last year. One of her favourite things in teaching is when a student makes her see something in a text that she's never before seen or considered, despite having taught it 10 times. Miss Harris is leaving teaching and is open to whatever comes her way. She'll be volunteering at the Arkwright Mills UNESCO World Heritage Site in Cromford and also joining an amateur dramatics club, hiking in the peaks and doing an MA in literature in York, so it sounds as though she's going to be very busy. We wish her every success in the future and thank her for all that she's done in her time here. Mr. Paul. Mr. Paul joined the Royal Marines at the age of 16 and spent the next 28 years on operational duties around the world. In 2005, he left the Royal Marines and was recruited by the Valley Forge Military Academy and College in America, where he was employed as a tactical officer with pastoral care for 120 students 24 hours a day, a skill that he's built on in his time here. In 2010, he returned to the UK, where he was trained up to work as a behaviour mentor and counsellor and instructor for students in the Nottingham area. He joined us here at the high school in January 2014 and took on the role of the senior staff instructor. He's assisted with the running of the D of E Silver programme and the Year 9 Rugby programme, and I know how much of you have enjoyed working with him as head of Year 9 Rugby from 2018 onwards. He also helped out run the Bala trip for 3 years and was lucky enough to attend an out-of-bounds week with students in the Lakes, which was the replacement for the Bala trip. He went on the school trip to America, and in September 2019 he became the temporary head of Mellors House, standing in for Mr. Smith. Within the CCF, he's introduced a corps of drums and watched them develop and grow into a truly impressive cadet lead group of students, which in turn helped to develop the school's CCF band section, which continues to grow in strength and confidence. As for the future, Mr. Paul will be starting a new life in sunny Spain, travelling Europe in his camper van and hitting the inland waterways of England in the summer. I know how popular he is with all members of the school, and we really do wish him well as he takes on these new adventures in his life. Thank you, Mr. Paul. Finally, this morning, we have Mr. Harrison. Mr. Harrison attended St Albans School in Hertfordshire, and in the gap year between school and university, he taught Latin at Lochinver House School, a prep school in Potters Bar. He then went to Durham University and graduated with a degree in classics. After graduating, he taught in Kenya for 2 years at the Pembroke House School, a British curriculum school in the Rift Valley between Nairobi and Nakuru. Here he was head of Latin and taught a range of other subjects and took swimming and cricket teams. He returned to the UK in 2008 and joined the high school in September that year as a teacher of classics. His own father actually attended the high school, and like him, Mr. Harrison has been attached to Mellors House throughout his time here. Firstly as assistant tutor to Mr. Sedgwick, and then as a tutor, taking over Mr. Cleverley's tutor set when he retired in 2013. His first group of Year 7 tutees are also leaving school this year. He was also a form teacher in Year 8 and then Year 11 before getting more involved in the sixth form. Mr. Harrison was appointed to run the AQA Baccalaureate in 2009 and held this role until the qualification was discontinued in 2018. In 2012, he took up the role of head of Year 12 and 13 and stayed in that role until September 2017, when he took over as head of classics and deputy head of sixth form, a position which has been developed to include the management of UCAS and Oxbridge processes. He was also the chairman of the staff common room for a couple of years and has also taught A-level politics, during which time he helped to organise a mock election and a mock EU referendum. You may remember that the school overwhelmingly voted to remain. He's also been heavily involved in the co-curricular programme, being in charge of the swimming team since September 2011. In this capacity, he's enjoyed organising and hosting large events such as the House Gala, the John Parry Relays and the East Midlands qualifiers for the national competition. He's taken our school team to the annual Bath Cup in the London Olympic Pool and to national finals on 3 separate occasions. He's been on a large number of D&V expeditions, in particular the silver qualifiers to the Yorkshire Dales and the bronze qualifiers to Shropshire. He has also on occasions taken the under-13 and under-14 cricket teams and joined in with the school orchestra playing his viola. In the classics department, Mr. Harrison has organised and led trips to Italy, with the final one of these in 2019 being particularly enjoyable and memorable, not least for the torrential rain and the broken down bus on Mount Vesuvius. He's also been on trips to Greece and to Hadrian's Wall. He's been on various trips with other departments too, including the Year 8 German trips to the Rhineland and Vienna, a history trip to Berlin, and a World Challenge expedition to Ethiopia with Mr. Thorpe in 2011, which included trekking in the Bale Mountains and contributing to the building of a primary school in the village community. In the sixth form, he was particularly proud of being head of year for the school's first co-educational cohort from 2015 to 2017, and enjoyed being involved in the planning and implementation of co-education in this context. Since taking over UCAS, he's streamlined our processes for checking personal statements and producing references, and has developed the provision and support for students applying to Oxbridge and for universities abroad and degree apprenticeships. He also set up and ran the 1513 Society, the school's programme for students identified as academically gifted and talented. He's going to miss many things, including taking part in staff five-a-side football on Fridays, where he suggests that his attendance has been far more impressive than his ability, but that his improved fitness during lockdown might have enabled him to become a box-to-box midfield general, but sadly we'll never know. He'll also miss the coffee machine in the sixth form brasserie and Sinead's Megabat breakfast special every Friday morning. On a more serious note, he's stated how fortunate he has been to work with so many fantastic colleagues and students during his time at the high school. And he'd like to particularly thank all those he's worked for in the sixth form team and the classics department for their friendship and support. Mr. Harrison leaves us to take on the role of assistant head of sixth form at Ratcliffe College. He's sad to be leaving the high school after 12 years, and I know he's been very sad to miss all the usual end of term festivities. But he's excited about this challenge of taking this step up to senior management and leading a sixth form in his own right. And we wish him all the best in his new role. I know he'll be a huge success. Now we come on to the award of this year's High School Awards and Headmaster's Prizes for Achievement. The High School Awards encourage our pupils to participate in co-curricular opportunities and to develop a wide range of skills and experiences. One part of this is that they have to be involved in something which involves working together, and being able to work collaboratively with others is another characteristic to develop, and I'm sure we're all looking forward to doing that in person again in the future. The Headmaster's Prizes are given for excellent achievement throughout the year, and in deciding on our recipients, we look both at the performance in their end-of-year exams as well as in gaining distinctions throughout the year. I congratulate all of our winners for what they've achieved over the year, and we will now display the name of all of our award winners. Congratulations to you all. Congratulations again to all of our prize winners. And so, the Strangers of Terms comes to an end. I really couldn't be prouder of how all in the school community have pulled together to ensure that this term has gone so very well. I hope now that every single one of you has a really good break over the summer, and it will really be so very special to welcome you all back into school. It will be brilliant to hear the school full of voices again and to see you running around and enjoying yourselves back on the games fields. Enjoy your break and have that very well-deserved rest. Thank you.